Hi everybody, welcome back to Morbid Sunshine. Today I wish to talk about Bittrolff and the the elusiveness of the case, that we don't seem to see any documents online to verify, but there's a lot out there that I have read. I didn't know that Bittrolff's brother was the reason he got caught. He got caught by DNA analysis via one of the victims' body. He also had a thing for taking the shoe off the left foot, you know. They were brutally attacked, and I just want to tell you some of the things that the officers said. He remains somewhat a tangential and mysterious figure in this world. Question if there one or multiple killers, Zeman said. This is about the Long Island killer, you know, because as it is, these bodies seem to be contained, you know, in the same areas. Bittrolff was one of Human's 200 plus alleged searches related to Gilgo Beach. Yeah. On the documents themselves, if you look on his superseding indictments, on his Google searches, Rex Human looks up John Bittrolff. He also continues, Zeman says, he remains somewhat, related to Gilgo Beach case. According to his bail application, which detailed thousands of Google searches for explicit pornography and S-work, Fox News Digital is not describing many of the Google searches due to their explicit nature, but John Bittrolff was listed number 14 in the searches. There was one alleged Google search that caught Zeman's eye, Asian twink tie-up porn, where twink is defined as a gay, bisexual young man with slim, boyish appearance, according to the dictionary. Personally, I always thought it was two killers, Zeman said, but one of the bodies that was found along Ocean Parkway was an Asian male, so that suddenly made me think that suddenly we are dealing with one killer. Personally, I always thought it was two killers, Zeman said, but one of the bodies that was found in Ocean Parkway was male, you know, and that's what made him think, you know, otherwise. I uncovered these posts. I was reading some reading somebody's thing about someone called Lindsay Henry, and I'm not sure who Lindsay Henry is, but it says here, and it seems like it's so related to the case, and it does sound that I don't know about all of it, but some people on Facebook commenting about Bittrolff and Human, you know, Lindsay Babylon Pimp Henry and his daddy Patrick Henry lead the sacrifices and place those bodies in Gilgo Beach. Kevin Snuff Film Cadden and Sister Judge Marion thumbs it down. Tenari attended the sacrifices. Judge Randy, the genocider, him riches, this Nazi needs to spend his entire life in a steel cage, or he can put a barrel of a gun in his mouth. That's what he should do. The groomer, Suffolk County Community College professor, surrounded himself with his victims he wants to pick out. Andy, the Jewish something queen, common other than Silver Spoon genocidal scumbag, who was the Attorney General when New York City began geocoding its citizens. Then you have Charles Head Down Clown Schumer. Those boys, Preet Bharara and Judge John Gleeson, kickback from the HBC Bank, $1.9 billion, a secret deal between the Queen of England Bank and our New York political core complex for drug money laundering. Nobody arrested, no details, so New York politicians and courthouse can target Americans on sovereign ground to a genocide with opium derivatives genocide law. There are a lot more. Eric Madoff, Eric something, etc. And I didn't catch the person who posted this, but it was interesting. Tommy the groomer spotter, how deviant is it to take a 14-year-old murder suspect and make him chief of police? Beyond comprehension and sickness at a level off the charts. He's a paedophile and practicing filthy genocidal lowlife. That needs to be next to his boyfriend Burke, another of the film Suffolk County elitist. Tommy the groomer's spotter, entrapping how many children into faith-based drug rehabs using opium derivatives is against the law. What's the sentence for treason and genocide? I found this article yesterday and I found it very insightful about Bittrolff himself. This is his home, murderer and suspect of serial killer John Bittrolff. It's situated in Manorville, New York. Bittrolff's wife purchased the property in 1997. This is 4 years after the first murder, okay? For $198,000. He lived there until 2014. When he was arrested, the murders of the two girls, Tangretti and McNamee, he was convicted of the crimes in July of 2017. 2 months later, the District Attorney Office prosecutor publicly named him as the potential witness in the Long Island serial killer case. However, it changed on the July 14th of 2023 when the police arrested Rex Heumann in connection of the murders. Interestingly, Heuman's cell phone history showed that he actually searched Bittrolff's name in the Google search. He was linked to the murders of Tangretti and McNamee after a swab from one of his brothers proved to be familiar DNA matched with semen samples and were collected from the victims' bodies. Both women have been beaten and are wedded and similarly posed in the woods in the area. Their left shoes and underwear were also missing from the crime scene, a sign that he may have kept them as trophies. Following his arrest, he claimed that he didn't know the two women. However, he became noticeably unsettled when the police told him they had found DNA on the bodies. At that point, he stopped talking and asked for a lawyer. Hours after the interrogation had ended, Bittrolff reportedly asked Detective John McClure, how they had collected DNA. When McLeod explained that his brother's DNA had been entered into the system, Bittrolff allegedly responded, "I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it." It was taken in August of 2012, which was roughly 2 years before he changed, with murders of Colin McNamee, 20, and Rita Tangretti, who was a 31. If you have ever researched Bittrolff, then you will already know that there are almost no personal details about him on the internet. Despite this, we are unable to piece together this background and childhood using online records, police records, searches, and personal accounts from people who knew him. Bittrolff was born on the 1st of July 1966 to John Frederick Bittrolff and Lynn Bittrolff in Norwich. He was two younger brothers named Timothy and Kevin. Timothy's the one who he got the DNA off. They got the DNA off. His parents separated when he was just a child. Around the same time, his father's brother, Kenneth Bittrolff, Uncle Kenny, started living with his mother. He grew up at 40 Shore Drive at Mastic Beach, New York, with his mother, Lynn, his uncle Kenneth, and his two brothers. Is this Kenneth from her side of the family or his? I don't know. One source said that his mother was domineering and often absent. However, she treated Bittrolff like a golden child in her eyes. He could do no wrong. As a teenager, he randomly provoked fights, broke into homes, stole things, vandalized property, and picked on younger kids. On one occasion, he reportedly forced a child to eat black snake firework. On another occasion, he fired a tipless arrow at someone's leg. It's childhood stuff, really, isn't it? You know. One person described him as fearless and said that there were a number of times when he would just walk up to someone without saying a word and start swinging. Another neighbour said he killed his family pet cat. These reports are backed by remarks on Detective Sergeant Charles Lesser of County Suffolk County Police Department during the 2017 interview with the Daily Beast. Lesser stated that Bittrolff tortured animals as a youngster and that he was nicknamed Crazy Johnny. Bittrolff attended William Ford High School, although one of the classmates' reunion website states that he graduated in 1984. It seems that to be incorrect. This information was added by members of the public, who of whom have misspelled his name. His photo is not present in 1984 William Floyd High School yearbook. Furthermore, a source familiar with the matter told us that he was held back in 1984 and that he was actually expelled the following year after he drove a dirt bike through the school grounds and knocked over an assistant principal who attempted to stop him. Although Crazy Johnny fled the scene on his bike, he identified after an onlooker recognized him from an earlier incident. Bittrolff has worked as a self-employed carpenter throughout most of his adult life. Judged by the public records, he owned at least two contracting companies. These were called Coastal Construction and My Two Boys Contracting, both of which were registered by his wife. On March 22nd in 1987, he was arrested and charged with fourth-degree grand theft larceny. He pleaded guilty in July 1987 and was sentenced to 60 days in jail and 5 years probation. One person who lived with Bittrolff old neighbourhood remarked that he had a reputation for stealing. If someone robbed your house, it was usually probably Johnny. On October 8, 1990, he was charged with third-degree assault after he beat up someone with a baseball bat. He reportedly did this as a favour for someone else. In February 1994, he pleaded guilty to the crime and received 1 of the year conditional discharge. This would have required him to stay out of trouble for a year. There may have been another condition attached. In 1994, he also pleaded guilty for driving under the influence. However, it is unknown the incident occurred. He started dating Patricia Acero in the mid-1980s. By 1993, they were engaged and living together. The couple got married in 1995. Patty gave birth to their first son in July 1996. Their youngest son was born in 2001 and 2003. Between that time, his father, with whom he reportedly had a strained relationship, passed away in 1998. Before moving to Manorville, he lived in Concord Road in Shirley and Orchard Neck Road in Centre Mauritius, I think it's pronounced it. When he was arrested for the murders of McNamee and Tangradi, shocked neighbours describe him as a regular guy. He was helpful and pleasant, and they also said that he liked to hunt deer. Although his name did not appear on the deeds until 2003, this was most likely due to mortgage-related reasons. For example, they may have issues with his criminal record and self-employment income or tax records. Notably, one source told us that he may have filed bankruptcy at some point during the mid-1990s. On July 5th, 2017, Bittrolff was convicted of the murders of Rita Tangradi and Colin McNamee. The naked body of Tangradi was found in a wooded area, East Patrico, on November 2nd, 1993. The killer had bludgeoned the 31-year-old sex worker and strangled her to death. 3 months later, on January 30th, 1994, the remains of McNamee were discovered in the forest area and Long Island Expressway in Shirley. Like Tangradi, the 20-year-old had been beaten and strangled to death. Both of these ladies were sex workers who were killed in a similar fashion. Their bodies were found nude and posed in a wooded area that was 10 miles apart. Furthermore, both victims were missing their underwear and their left shoe. I want to mention that Sandra Costello is a human victim. Also, it's been said that now another one has been added who was connected to Bittrolff and has been found. It's been a degree charge with human rather than Bittrolff. So he's been convicted of these two brutal crimes, you know. For more than 20 years, their murders remained unsolved. Then in 2013, Bittrolff's brother Timothy was arrested for an unrelated crime. As a result, he was forced to submit DNA sample. Not long after, Timothy's sample proved to be familial to match with DNA evidence that was collected from bodies of Tangredi and McNamee. Bittrolff became prime suspect after Timothy's DNA match proved that he was closely related to the killer. At that stage, investigators started using fake plumbers' vans to keep Bittrolff under surveillance. Their goal was to follow the carpenter until he eventually discarded an item with his DNA on it. However, Bittrolff immediately saw through the facade and realised that he was being followed by the police. At one point, he even pulled an evasive driving manoeuvre in an attempt to lose them. When the lab test items from the family's garbage, they found a sample matched the DNA found on Tangredi and McNamee. At that point, the police decided to pull him over and bring him in for questioning. During the interrogation, he drank from a cup that they offered him, and the cup gave investigators a sample of DNA, which they confirmed a match. In 2010, this high-resolution aerial image was taken on the 1st of April 2010. Bittrolff's property is inside the red line. So he's got quite a fair bit of property there, you know. And you see the woods there, you know, back of him. This video, still above, was captured by CBS New York shortly after he was charged. It's a beautiful house. I mean, it's not Rex Human, is it? No. I mean, Rex Human, he's just messy, unkempt house, you know, like normally serial killers are pretty tidy and organised, you know. I think as a ritual, you know, they are usually. Gives you an idea of where he lives and, you know, how easy it would be to hide someone in them woods.
In on Bittrolff, who was a married father of two.
God answers prayers. God answers prayers.
His brother was in court for John Bittrolff's arraignment.
It's an excellent man.
The victims were 31-year-old Rita Tangredi, discovered beaten and strangled in late 1993, and Colleen McNamee, who was 20, from Manorville, was only caught for two cold case murders of sex workers because his brother's DNA showed up in a state database in 2014. This lead helped cops close in on Bittrolff, who was a married father of two.
God answers prayers. God answers prayers.
His brother was in court for John Bittrolff's arraignment.
It's an excellent man.
The victims were 31-year-old Rita Tangredi, discovered beaten and strangled in late 1993, and Colleen McNamee, who was 20, she was found in January 1994 in the Manorville Patchogue area. We specifically asked the Suffolk County DA if Bittrolff could be tied to the Gilgo and Oak Beach victims 40 miles from Manorville.
There is no evidentiary or investigative link
between these two murders and any of the Gilgo victims.
But we noted in our reporting over the last 3 years that the torso of one victim tied to the serial killer, Jessica Taylor, was discovered in Manorville, where Bittrolff lived, in 2003, while her hands and skull were found during the Gilgo Beach investigation in 2011. We noted that the torso of another unknown woman had also been found in Manorville in 2000, which matched up with the head, hands, and legs of a Gilgo Beach victim in 2011. The bodies of the 4 initial victims found in Gilgo Beach in December 2010 were intact and wrapped in burlap. But after Bittrolff's arrest, we consulted retired homicide investigator Vernon Geberth, who's written about sex crimes and serial killers.
They do say that those 4 bodies and those heads and hands are related to one killer.
After Suffolk County's Chief of Department James Burke was arrested in 2015 for assaulting a suspect, the county's police department was turned upside down and the FBI rejoined the serial killer investigation. And now, 3 years after the Suffolk County District Attorney said there was no investigative link between Bittrolff and the Gilgo Beach case, we're getting a different story. On the same day that Bittrolff was sentenced for killing the 2 sex workers in the early 90s. Quote, there are remains of the victims at Gilgo that may be attributed to the handiwork of Mr. Bittrolff, and that investigation is continuing. John Bittrolff's arrest prompted me to keep working on the Gilgo Beach case because of the body parts that were found in Manorville. And I received a Facebook message in 2014 with a tip that I thought was significant. The poster said the daughter of Rita Tangretti, who was Bittrolff's 1993 victim, grew up to become best friends with Melissa Barthélemy, one of the first victims discovered in 2010 in Gilgo Beach. I'm Mary Murphy, Pix 11 News.
I found this other article. Long Island convicted of 2 killing in early 1999 is seeking review after alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Human was charged in an eerily similar homicide during the same period, according to the report. John Bittrolff was convicted in 1993 of murder of Rita Tangretti and 94 of Colleen McNamee, is pushing for exoneration after Human indicted in the 1993 killing of Sandra Costello. A murder Bittrolff was long suspected of committing. Bittrolff's attorney, Lisa Marcosia, called the crime scene of the 3 murders eerily similar, and asked Suffolk County District Attorney Office to perform DNA testing on the hairs found at Tangretti and McNamee's crime scene. Letters obtained by Newsday revealed. I haven't got an account for them. She also asked that the office release forensic evidence from the Costello crime scene. Bittrolff's attorney has asked for a review of his case. An alleged Gilgo Beach murderer, Rex Human, was charged in eerily similar circumstances. All 3 women, Sandra, Rita and Colleen, were killed within the same time frame. All 3 women were found in wooded area. Their legs were apart and their hands above the head. They were each missing a shoe. Marcosia told Newsday. Colleen and Sandra both had their shirts pulled over their faces, and the DA's office has also claimed that there were wood chips on their bodies. Any logical person would believe that one person was responsible for all 3 murders. District Attorney Ray Tierney, who was not in office when Bittrolff was charged and convicted, denied Marcosia's requests. I've looked at those cases, Tierney told the outlet. If I thought there was a problem with them, I would do something. Before Bittrolff's 2014 arrest, Suffolk County investigators had long publicly said they believed the person responsible of the deaths of Tangretti and McNamee was responsible for killing Costello. Marcosia, who previously filed 2 unsuccessful motions to overturn Bittrolff's conviction, sent Tierney a letter on the 6th of June, the day Human pleaded not guilty to a second-degree murder charge of Costello's murder. In the letter, she asked the prosecutors to turn over the records for Human related to Costello case, including any forensic analysis conducted on Costello crime scene, and all information obtained through devices that are relevant to all 3 slayings and outlet report. Bittrolff was convicted in 93 of the murder of Rita Tangretti and 94 killing of Colleen McNamee. The goal of the District Attorney Office is not to win a case but to seek justice, Marcosia wrote in a letter. After not receiving a response, she filed a second letter on June 18th to prosecutors repeating her request and was denied 2 days later by Assistant District Attorney Guy Arcandancio, who wrote that there is no basis on law or fact of providing you with these materials. As you are aware, Rex Human has been indicted for Costello's murder, Arcandancio wrote in a letter obtained by Newsday. Whether your client was ever investigated for Costello's murder, it is evident he was not charged in that case. Neither the fact that he was not charged, nor that Mr. Human has been charged, is exculpatory as to Bittrolff's murder convictions. Human, 61, was linked to Costello through mitochondrial DNA. Testing on her found at the crime scene, while Bittrolff was linked to Tangretti and McNamee through DNA through semen samples found at in their body, officials have said. Human was arrested on the 13th of July 2020 for the brutal killings of 3 women and charged with the second murder of 3 other women over 1 year. His murder trial is expected to begin in Suffolk County Supreme Court in September. Meanwhile, Marcosia believes further testing and DNA evidence would assist Bittrolff in this appeal. There were unknown hairs found both on Rita and Colleen's body. They were never tested against, Marcosia said, according to the outlet. It's interesting because you think that there could be more than one killer in this case. You know, she wants to test the other DNA. I don't know what she is Well, as DNA's been found on them, it's pretty damning, but I don't think he's the only one who's convicted. I don't know how they worked out it wasn't his brother. How did they work DNA out like that? I'll have to look into this. Yeah, I'll be doing another episode on Bittrolff, maybe find out more DNA interest and find out what exactly it is that the hair samples will substantiate to, you know. I feel that it's going to come back to Bittrolff at the end. I feel the way he completely reacted to it, finding out he was basically fucked, it said a lot about him as a character, as a person. You know, he looks a pretty calm man, but I don't trust the quietness in him, you know. There's not much to go on documentation, but if anyone's got a link they can give me to his documents, that'd be great, because I'd love to look through them. Anyway, this is all for now, and I hope you all have a lovely Sunday. Take care for now. Bye-bye.